Hello, everyone. Nubkeks here. Welcome back to Nubrays. We've got a few small bits of news here for Monday. Stuff over coinciding with the upcoming CVC tournament, and yeah, some Soul stuff, more Soul stuff. I tried to cover it all in just the one video yesterday, so I'm not bombarding you with small things. But then there was another Soul thing that dropped today, so what can I do? Not much. First things first. Obviously, tomorrow is CVC. It's not personal rewards though, so it's gonna be a nice chill one. So I will see you for that. We're just gonna be hanging out and it's gonna be chill. It's gonna be a good time. So yeah, saying roundabout when CVC starts, maybe a bit after it starts. I don't know, but around about then, I will be live for usually 2.5 hours or so, and yeah, just hang out. We can chat the usual. Now we have summon events for CVC as well, and oh, I've clicked into the wrong thing. But actually, we'll come back to that in a second. But it's fun. This summon events first. So this is the summon events that are coming up. These are the summon events. Tuesday, the 20th of May, and then Wednesday, the 21st. Two different ones, 24 hours each. Pretty spicy, some progressive chances. We got Preva, she's new, a new reviver from Demon Spawn. Nekmo Thar, Lady Kimmy, Razelvarg, and Aestrid from regular shards. Then Fighty, Shuzan, and Noel from Voids. On Wednesday, it's Uzal. He's new and he's very good dwarf. Michinaki, Ragash, Modo, Sisia. And then from Voids, it's Odin, Akrazia, and Gurgo. Man, there are some great champions here. If you're really close to Mercy, it could easily be worthwhile. I would say for me, the ones that stand out, I do think Nekmo stands out as being pretty darn good. He is very good for Chimera in particular, because he brings you decreased speed leech, decreased attack, and increased speed and tons of turn meter. He's very, very useful. You can run him fast, you can run him in Relentless, you can run him in Reflex, I've run him in Affinity Breaker even, for the affinities where he's bad. I run him in 9-piece Feral for more damage. Otherwise, though that's not so important if you're running a max HP damage either, and the damage is capped anyway. But yeah, he's actually pretty sick. So Nekmothar, he's definitely worth considering. I would be valuing him a good bit over Kimmy. Razelvarg, I think, is really, really good damage dealer, but there are more options these days for sure. And then Aestrid is very similar to Nekmo. She's better for Hydra, but he's better for Chimera. So I'd be leaning more towards Nekmo if I didn't have them both, personally, just because of Chimera these days. You could maybe go for Preva. It depends. With Demon Spawn, like I said, we're covering this in Faction Wars Hard. I think Carnage plus Lamassu is probably so strong that I do think that once you get both those champions, I think you'll be ripping through Demon Spawn faction crypts fairly easily. But yeah, Preva will obviously be great for that. She's, to me, seems like a very PvE focused reviver. Healing, increased defense and speed. She has a single target revive, like basically Godseeker revive with more HP on a 4-turn. She can do some turn meter boosting, She can transfer debuffs back, take debuffs onto herself. She seems like a very PvE focused champion. See that their views are pretty high. I'd be surprised if she's a 5 out of 5 for Arena. I personally don't see that. But we'll see. We'll see. So I think she's reasonable enough to go for as well. She's new, so you might not have her. I think she's fairly reasonable. I'd say Nekmo a bit better, though. But look at just the regular shards first. Those would be the two from day one. And I think the others are all reasonable enough. They're all fine to pick. Kimmy would be probably the weakest one, I would say. But hey, maybe, you really need her for Shadowkin for Faction War. She'd be very strong there for the turn meter control and boosting you up. So it's, she'd be a good combo, especially with like the relic that makes your turn meter reduction stronger. Really go with Mikage. That could work. So it's possible. Uzal of the Jade definitely stands out to me massively. This guy is kind of a monster, right? So he's a dwarf. They did update the passive. I think people were confused about this. Have they? So they've updated the passive to make it more clear. If an ally has a chance to gain an extra turn, increases that by an additional 5%. So yeah, I think it used to say before increases the chance for extra turn by 5%, and I think people had misinterpreted that to mean that he just gave even people with no extra turn chance at all now a 5% chance. That's not it. If you have a chance for an extra turn, he ups it. So I think this should work with like Relentless set, like Rotus A1s. There's this new relic, the Perch Shadow relic, which is really solid. That gives you a bit of an extra turn chance. I think it's actually one of the better epic ones. I just got one myself the other day. This one is quite nice. Chance for an extra turn. It's cool. So, and there's some gems that give you extra turns too. So that's definitely a mechanic that is coming more and more into the game. He makes it stronger. This guy, he's got AoE, decreased defense, that also reduces shields by 100%. Right. And he's got a 20% chance for extra turn, goes up by 10% for each crit. So it's realistically, most of the time, it's like a 60% chance for an extra turn on a 3-turn AoE is nuts. And then his A3 is a massive single target nuke. This guy is like, he's kind of the real deal. I think these ratings are maybe a bit harsh. I think he could be a massive damage dealer and certainly fits in with the likes of Arnorn and Senna. Fits very well with Black Tusk as well. Like the dwarves have some seriously good legendaries now, if you're lucky enough to have them. I don't think I've got many. I've got the mythicals, but not the OP legendaries, funny enough, myself. So he's definitely worth considering. Michinaki, he's great, very accessible option for Hydra. Ragash, really good as well. Again, he's come into his own in Faction Wars again. The AoE stun on a 3-turn cooldown is just extremely good. All these champs have decreased defense. I think all these champs have increased speed is the theme. Modo of the Peel, I'm not too sold on. He's okay, but AoE stuns. Does he? I guess he has decrease. No, does he have decreased defense? I don't actually remember. Am I talking out my arse saying that these champs have decreased defense? He's decreased defense A1. He's more about the AoE stuns. I mean, he's a decent damage dealer, but he combos with Esme. It's kind of awkward, not great. And he has this extra damage to enemies under Stone Skin, but he actually does more damage to Stone Skin with his A2, hilariously. So I'm not too keen on Modo. He's been a bit of a disappointment. And Sissia is really solid. Sissia very, very good, particularly if you do a Volcanos. I think that's... And she also combos with Cardial, which is nice. But she does bring you the AoE burns for Volcanos teams, which is kind of clutch while being a demon spawn. And he can then be a really strong damage dealer for things like Hydra, because you can stack up... where is it? You can stack up his 2-faction ally passive. That's the crazy part. When HP burns activate on enemies, he gains 5% ignore defense up to 100%, and that makes him a crazy damage dealer. But, you might not have Volcanos. Sissia is really good, though. AoE burns, AoE decreased defense weaken. She's solid, but she's squishy. She's a bit hard to use. They're all good picks. I think they're all fairly reasonable. Michinaki, he's a great accessible option. I think he does fall off a little bit. But he's still really solid. Ragash is solid as well. I think they're both probably similarly useful. Michinaki, maybe people struggle with Hydra a bit more, so that might be a bit stronger than just general wave content. You probably have more champs that are good at general waves than you've got champs that are good at Hydra. And I'd say Sissia is fairly similar to Ragash, etc. I think Michinaki's easier to slot into a Hydra team, generally speaking. Michinaki, he just brings just comfort and utility. He's easy to keep alive. Sissia is a bit hard to keep alive. Not a big fan of Modo. That's my thoughts on that. The Voids are really good as well. I guess, quick question. Would I actually pull for any of these champions? And yeah, I probably would. If I was really close to Mercy, I probably wouldn't be so keen on the Michinaki, Ragash, Sissia. They might not be quite strong enough for me unless I was really weak in those factions for Faction Wars hard. But if I didn't have Necmo, I probably would. And then Preva is more of a maybe. Okay, so I would say, you know what, in terms of what I'd actually pull for, Necmo, number 1, and I'd give Uzal number 2. That's my personal rankings, but, obviously take that with a pinch of salt. It depends. I've got I've got Kimi, Razelvarg, Aestrid already, so sort of the grass is always green. I've got Sissia as well, and Michinaki, and Ragash, but, the grass is always greener on the other side, as it were. Although that being said, I do have Nekmothar, and I still think he's really good. So yeah. Then for the Voids, Fighty, Shuzan, and Noelle, all really strong, and then Odin, Acrisia, and Gurgo, again, all really strong. I would say the better ones, I would say Shuzan, very high, and I say Odin, I'd rank very high as well. Fighty, really good too. Noelle is great. Noelle's real good. But yeah, she's obviously fantastic. And I do think Sacred Order is a little tricky. Now, they've got budget revivers in the form of, well, I guess just Godseeker and Cardinal to an extent. But maybe it'll be a little tricky. And they've got Artor as well. So yeah, actually, I don't know. Do you really need that reviver for Sacred Order? She's also one of their best control champions. That's maybe the better aspect. And she is very good with Sir Nick in Arena. I actually use her and Sir Nick in Arena. I actually use them in my tag arena defense, and I'll probably use them in some siege defenses too. They're kind of fun. They kind of win, actually, sometimes. I think people underestimate them quite a bit. So I do like them, but I'd be going for Shuzan number 1. I think Shuzan is just super, super good. one of the best speed boosters in Arena, just because she can give anybody an instant turn. It's just so much threat, right? It is so much threat. You can instantly boost up a champion with increasing skill cooldowns on the enemy, and they can't be stopped. You could boost up a Marius, and he can just nuke them. She's very difficult to deal with. And then she's also an increased speed and AoE decreased speed champ. She's got block active skills A1. She's going to be a freaking monster just in general. So I really do like Shu Zhen. As I said on the next day, Odin also is up there for me as being incredible. Again, quite an arena-focused champion, but generally good everywhere. I mean, AoE decreased defense and stun with a buff removal is just really good. He doesn't have the damage on this move like a Ragash does, but he also doesn't have any affinity problems, and he's got that full buff removal. And then he's got an enemy max HP nuke on his A3, which is really strong. And obviously his passive is incredible. And yeah, I think Odin is really, really good, really strong. So yeah, Acrisia and Gurgo are both very reasonable as well. Acrisia, probably a little bit better early game. Obviously, once you've got Marius and Newt and stuff like that, you might have other champs that are doing what she does. But I have seen her do some really cool stuff actually with the Dwarf faction unity, has actually kind of brought her back a little bit because Black Tusk is giving you the ally attacks. He's giving you the counter attacks. And something Acrisia has, which is really strong, she does have an enemy max HP with decreased defense on her A1. And this does actually hit pretty hard. So yeah, that's kind of a nice advantage for her. And because she's a dwarf, she starts activating the Black Tusk faction unity passive. So there's definitely something to be said for that. If you've got Black Tusk, she becomes quite juicy again. But otherwise, she's, again, incredibly OP early game. But then, you know, Marius sort of exceeds her potential late game. Or end game, maybe, is more accurate. And Gurgo's real strong as well. He is phenomenal for Ogre and Faction Wars, because not only is he giving you incredible control, like he's so good for control. Just this move here, removing all buffs and then freezing with the extra turn so he gets back to his cooldowns. That is so strong for Faction Wars. Faction Wars hard. It's all about control. And then he also brings AoE decreased defense, and he can do really good damage too. So he's great, and he's a good arena champion. He is viable in arena. He's a bit difficult to use, I would say, but he is viable. Like it's hard, you know, to have him really fast, but also probably in Stone Skin so he doesn't die, but also probably in Pinpoint so he doesn't get polymorphed. You know, you can't have him in 4-piece Stone Skin, 4-piece Pinpoint, and 4-piece Lethal. There's just not enough gear slots, you know? So you have to make some decisions with how you build him. But he's a great champ. Really, really strong too. I would definitely be leaning towards maybe even Shu Zhen number 1, Odin number 2, but it's pretty darn close. And then probably I give Fighty number 3. I think he's pretty sick. And definitely if you don't have a reset champ, he's way up there, you know? Resetting your whole team's active skill, well, not fully reset, but reducing their cooldown by 3 turns is great. Increase resist, perfect veil. He's got full buff removal, block buffs, decrease speed, and a turn meter boost for you. This dude is kind of stacked. I know I underestimated him in 2020, in my top champs of 2024. I don't think I included Fighty, and you guys were like, "Nup, why is Fighty not in your top champs of 2024? This champion is insane." So I think he's way up there. So I'd be giving him the number 3. So yeah, Shu Zhen, Odin, Fighty, honestly, they're all great and all worth going for with your Void Mercy if you're there, you know? So I don't know, if you got super close to Void Mercy but didn't quite get that, like, you know, your 210 Void pulls after the weekend, you didn't get your champ, you're like, oh, that sucks. I didn't get a champion in the 2X, but I'm into Mercy. This is great for you, honestly. So that's pretty cool. That's what's happening there. Now, a couple other pieces of news as well. We do have this magic summon pool event. I was just looking on the event calendar in game, and it looks like we've got some prism jewels coming from Sand Devil Turn Attack. So, you know, I might do this just for the sake of it, right? But this is, I think, fairly underwhelming. They are 2 to 6 star for legendary, 4 to 6 star for epics. Let's take a look here. I mean, for the legendaries, which is probably what you mostly care about, 40% it's 2 star, 30% it's 3 star, 15% it's 4 star. It's only 9% 5 star, 6% 6 star. I would say the 5 and 6 star is what's juicy. 15% chance for a 5 or 6 star. And then obviously you got to roll the 28% that is a legendary and get the one that you want. I don't know. It's a lot. It's a lot. You obviously have to have the champions for this to be good. Seeing as it is not Void Affinity, for example, for me, I think I've got nearly all of them. I don't have Quilcha, but I've got everyone else. So yeah, this one is one of the best ones for me. I usually don't have half of the champions in these summon events, but this is still kind of meh. I still really wouldn't be bothered. I really feel like, again, these are such whale events. If you're coming in, even if you're a spender, you probably have a budget for every month for how much you spend on the game, or you probably should have a budget. And it's a real hard sell, I think, to go for these on a small budget. These become insane if you've got a massive budget, because souls are so powerful, and it's giving you a really good chance to get souls for the champions you want. Wait for a good event to go all out, and it's great. Like, if you're coming in and you're like, oh, I really want souls from like my Kaimar and my Atharion and my Rotus, great. And I need an Arman soul and an Elva soul. If you need a few souls and you've got hundreds of dollars that waiting to be spent on something, and you can't for the life of you figure out what, then yeah, great. But otherwise, not so great. I will be skipping, needless to say. But it is good if you're an oil baron. Again, just to be fair, just so everyone understands exactly how this stuff works. Now the final thing, which is cool, is I've got an update. I'll be posting this in just the channel, so you can find it, and it will be up on hellhades.com. But we figured, hey, why not produce an updated Lydia guide? So I've done a spotlight, and this is the infographic for it for Lydia in 2025, because a lot has changed. Like, we looked at the old Lydia info, and I was like, oh damn, like, a lot has changed since then. There's some spicy recommendations here. It's hard to describe all of it in the infographic, because Lydia, there's a few different ways you can build her. So just to mention Lydia, if you are going for the soul this weekend, one thing is 9-piece feral or 9-piece protection. By the time you get Lydia, you haven't been playing the game for 2 months. You're a pretty seasoned player. You definitely want to be looking towards this. Maybe it might take you a year. It might take you a few months after you get Lydia, but eventually something like this. 9-piece protection, for example, over here, more damage per buff. Lydia gives you 2 buffs, so it's 10% more damage for your team basically the whole time. But it also protects your buffs, which is really nice against Chimera, where Lydia is particularly good. And against, well, any of the Faction Wars stuff where they can remove your buffs as well for Faction Wars Hard. I might actually switch my Lydia back into 9-piece protection for Faction Wars Hard. So nice damage boost, and protecting the buffs is really useful. 9-piece Feral actually will give you more damage, because you consider, against Chimera, for instance, we got decreased defense weaken. We can fear, so there's another buff against the Ram form, but only the Ram form. Block buffs against every form, poison sensitivity against every form, block active skills against Viper, and then I've got her with Brimstone. So you'll have at least 4 debuffs: decreased defense weaken, poison sensitivity, and block buffs. That's at least 4 debuffs. That's 20% damage boost from Feral. And then possibly fear, block active skills, Brimstone. You could be up to like 30% against some of those forms, quite possibly. So there's big damage potential there with Feral. Now, one thing to note, if you're using enemy max HP character, I've already mentioned this, I think, in the video, but enemy max HP does have a weird cap. It won't really scale off of Feral and protection. So if you're running like a Marius team for Chimera, you won't really benefit from protection or Feral. But if you're running like a Toshiro or something, you'll benefit massively. So it depends on what champions you're using. I use Ninja, so this is just usually like probably on average, a 25% damage boost for the team having her in 9-piece Feral, which is kind of nuts. But you don't protect your buffs. The stats on Feral are excellent, but you don't protect the buffs. So like I said, I might switch her back. I might switch her back otherwise. And then I think Merciless and Reflex, that's also a new little combo that's very strong, though it's difficult, obviously, to get good stats on that. You could even build her, I talk about it in the spotlight, like 9-piece Merciless Lydia, Nuker Lydia is something that's really good for dungeons. I actually have one of the players in my clan, I think, built a Nuker Lydia to get the Chimera trial, where I think, the one where you've got to do whatever 500k damage. He has such a giga stack Lydia. I do not recommend this to you unless you're like a Kraken, because it's just impossible to do, really. But it's one of them. I think it's I think it was this one. Damage him with a single skill. Since it doesn't count skills that scale off enemy max HP, again, if you got like a Marius or something, it's really hard to do this. But Lydia, with enough gear, can do it. But you really need some bonkers gear. But it's worth pointing out just for fun. But damage builds for Lydia is a thing for dungeons. You just need to make sure she's not going to flop over dead in clan bosses or for hard faction wars, that sort of thing. Blessings, I think, is pretty straightforward. You're probably going just for cruelty or brimstone. I feel with Lydia, she's fine for arena and siege, but you're probably just gonna. She's so good for dungeons and bosses and stuff like that. You're probably just better off building her for that and just throw her in for the passive if her passive makes sense in arena, and she'll just die. But it's fine. Or you could swap her gear over if you wanted, but probably not worth it. The relics are kind of fun for Lydia. I will say that. With Lydia, not collection. I do think she's actually, it's not a great mythical, but it's perfect for her. Murder Fang, so it gives you flat attack. She actually scales really well with flat attack, her damage. So she actually is fine with the damage stats. And then this chance to do bonus damage using her default skill. She actually uses her default skill a lot because she counterattacks with it when crowd control is placed on you. This can add up to actually a substantial amount of damage against Chimera, Hydra, a lot of the Faction Wars hard bosses as well. This is actually pretty legit. So yeah, Murder Fang is definitely one of the weaker, for sure, one of the weaker relics, mythical relics in the game. One of the weakest ones. Yeah, it's definitely one of the worst ones. But it is actually pretty legit for Lydia. I think it's actually probably your best pick. I do think Volcardiac Heart's pretty good on her as well. You can build her with high resistance. Kind of niche, but you can for survivability and stuff. But this is pretty cool. And again, just going to give your team survivability, which is quite nice. And you can make her like the ram form target. You can make her the lion form target as well. And this is going to help her and your whole team stay alive. So it's pretty sick. So Volcardia Cart's a pretty interesting one. Just progressing through dungeons and stuff and just in general in the game. It's really nice one to slap on her as well. And yeah, so that's sort of what I do think this new Perch Shadow is pretty decent for her too. It's just the sort of your generic filler option. It's quite a good one. Just a chance, easy enough to get up to like a 14% chance for an extra turn on their default skill with one active. So just help her cycle back to her A2, especially if you don't have her in Feral and you're not even using her A3. You could potentially just, for example, for Hydra, just have her use her A2 and then just spam her A1. And you've got some really nice relics in here that can work very well with her, such as Gathering Momentum is incredible. You could put 2 of those into the Perch Shadow. 3% turn meter whenever you put a debuff on an enemy. That's insane, right? AoE, decreased defense, weaken. Yes, please, loads of turn meter. And you can slap 2 of those bad boys in here. Of course, I have 0 of those bad boys, so it's not that helpful to me. But if you had 2 of them, you could. So yeah, it's worth pointing out anyway. But that's sort of my updated quick guide on Lydia. It was a bit complicated because, I mean, you could build her resistance, you could build her damage, you can build... So yeah, and you could speed tune her specific ways, but should still be a good overview. And it's just funny looking at it and how much the game has changed recently with the relics and the new gear sets. I've got mine with Golden Elixir just because I don't have anything better on her. Oh, you could also, again, you could throw in this circle gem is nice for dungeon speedruns. If you build her for damage, it's pretty sick. Yeah, but that's Lydia. There we go. That's about it. That's about all we've got to cover there. So lots of little news bits in today's video. Lots of things to jump between. That's what's happening at the moment. It is, by the way, the last day, I think. Yeah, warning, it is your last day to finish off this if you're going for it. I did it. I got an Axe Serpentis, so I'm just crying myself to sleep. But good news, I am almost finished my my Faction Wars Great Hall. I only have 2 more ranks in defense left. And then I guess I'll go back to actually finishing Curse City, which I've neglected somewhat. But yeah, there we go. That's it for today. That's everything. I guess I'll see you for a Faction Wars video in a little bit. But thanks for watching, and I'll see you for the CBC stream tomorrow. I will probably pull Soul Stones. I think I will pull my Eternal Soul Stones during CBC. And we'll probably do our Faction Wars bit during CBC as well. And I'll probably record them and upload them as separate videos. But yeah, we'll probably do that during the stream. Especially Faction Wars. I'll probably do Faction Wars on stream and you guys can chat to me and that'll be kind of fun. But yeah, I will go and record Faction Wars video now and we'll see you in a little bit. Thanks for watching and goodbye.